Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lifting's Guide to Galactic History, or at least that the group that is here is telling me that this is going to be. Now, I'm not completely certain what the subject is going to be this time. I know this has to do with us, this has to do with a lot of people, and they are being very tight-lipped about they're narrowing the energy bandwidth, and by they I mean, okay, you say you're the council, but you need to prove that to me right now, please. Okay. And who is it that I'm speaking to? Is it just representatives of the council? Or is it Triumph? Who am I speaking to, please? Okay. Which one of you is Triumph? There's 4 of you. You're the one in the red hood? Yes? Okay. So, who's coming through to talk? All of you? Okay. This feels very thick, though. Either something to be fixed, or what have you. Okay. It's making my face feel different. Yes, it will. Why? Because it's getting a lot of attention, alright. Okay. Slowly? Good day. There has been a lot of attention lately on the gatherings and the groups of the past. Why you entered. And why you were here. My name is Triumph, and I will explain. This goes into a lengthy discussion. Why you are here, you came in to not only experience this expression, but you came in to alter aspects of this expression that did not meet the exact standards of said classroom, you would say, even though it's not quite the same as you've been told. I will go into a couple of different groups that attempted to alter history. In this, apologies are given for external distractions, because this truth is not something they want generally known. One group came from a future time. In that time, they noticed the effects you would call the Mandela effect, causing the current enemy structure you know of as Archon to gain ascendance and dominance. In this, oh my god, I gotta stop a minute. That guy is so loud. In the beginning, that group came from a head. This group consisted of a much smaller band of misfits, some would call them. I am sorry, everyone, I have to let him back in. The neighbor was extremely loud, and it kicked me out of that state partially. It was literally like they were right inside my head. So, apologies are now given. This story that is about to be told is full of distractions, and then it later became one. As I've said, there were groups that came in to help change the energy dynamic of your world and your way of being. This group from the future consisted of a small band of misfits, some would say, no more than 10, that started out 20,000 years from your current date. In this, we know time is as one, but for you linear thinkers, 20,000 years is the date. They saw that their world was being encompassed by an altered timeline. Many histories running in tandem. They noticed their friends changing, their situations changing. They noticed that once was there was not there, and vice versa. In the need and panic of the moment, this small band went back through time through a portal or door opening that, ironically so, that the darkness at the time opened themselves. Some ended up back on ancient Maldek, some Mars, and in other time frames that were necessary for them to be in at the time. Your Saint Germain, as you call him, is part of this group as well. He chose more of a alchemical, magical route in this current expression, but he too started out the same way. In this, these individuals ended up at different points in your time. There are many disruptions in this story, so I must be brief to a certain extent, even though this story is lengthy. The energy waves consistent with a proper channel are in a chaotic flux. Just know the path that you are on currently and what you must do has fluctuated also with this chaotic path. In this, there were also groups of people that ended up in different time frames that were not in your incarnation cycle, but then some also at different points in time ended up in the incarnation cycle and appeared to hinder those coming in to perform the original core mission. And in fact, it looked like they were on opposing sides. However, they were not. These two here ended up in such a scenario, along with many others. This band of misfits that started out as very few ended up as quite many. Ended up becoming what is known as the White Knights, but certain rescuers throughout history, medically oriented rescuers. The heaviness of this story tends to draw in the loud and obnoxious noises currently around, tends to draw in the wrong kind of sword, tends to draw in that which is unseen and unneeded, but will also draw in courage, protection, clarity, and many other skills unseen to this one. Starting in the timeline known as Atlantis, though this was the so-called destruction of this one's giant self. He and many others brought themselves into the incarnation cycle in more than one time frame because of the fact Atlantis, Dear Maldek, and Mars were fractalized temporally. One of these was your biblical Jesus time frame, you would say. The ones known as the Essenes were actually an arm of these white knights that came in to fight the enemy by becoming it to some extent. Wrapped in cloth, like they were being mummified or buried. In this, the darkness either had no clue or they did not care. Actually, both of those scenarios are true. Hello, everyone. We actually had to move because voice modulation man out there was so dang loud it kicked me out of the channel twice. This person, unknowing to themselves, was emitting a frequency that literally canceled out what was trying to come in. And that happens from time to time. This one had to be more of the more annoying ones. The flies weren't even as bad as this one. So, I will try to continue from where I left off. It's this story, whenever it is started to be told, there's always been some kind of distraction. This shows the importance of this subject and why this has to be told. Even now, as I'm trying to tell it, I'm still feeling a brick about here. So, looks like it'll have to be told in spurts versus all at once. So, Triumph, are you ready? Yeah, now? All right. It's a little warmer back here, so hopefully you all can hear me over that. That one is just fine. Please forgive the level of distraction. Through the course of history, as I've said, these people were put in places they needed to be, but often wandered in places they did not. The path of the one you know of as Hercules, for instance, was sent on impossible tasks set up by the darkness in order to send him askew of the proper mission. Yes, questing for your own heart, for instance, is just fine. But in the manner of labors, do certain labors accelerate you, build you up? Do certain encounters build you? Do certain dark happenings help build character? Yes, in fact they do, and this is what the original intent of the dark side was for. When the extra overage came in, this started the hero's quests. This also infiltrated the ones that were outside of the illusion but infiltrating the illusion. I will explain. When the knights existed in that future, there was no illusion until this Mandela effect took hold. The negative one, anyhow. In this, when they came back and managed to find some, not only of their lost brethren, but those that had died during the explosion of Maldek, such as dear Odin and all of the Norse pantheon, you would say. This is why in the Ragnarok stories only Thor remained. But in the reverse story, it was Thor who passed and the rest of the Norse pantheon that survived. This was actually something that was permitted by Source, because this was an event that was supposed to happen all along. The planet, of course, became entangled with Nibiru. This is true, but it doesn't mean all the people did. Some of them, yes. Some of them, not all of them. And it was very few who actually became completely entangled in that stain from another universe. When all of these friends, guides, and brothers and sisters came back, some things did get skewed. Some split into the masculine and the feminine in their tasks. Granted, Knights of Aether started out as a mixture group of alien, male, female, but that eventually changed during the Jesus time frame, when there was a feminine group that came in an attempt to stop a reptilian lord known as Molag. When Molag found out what was going on, he ensnared this feminine group into a perpetual cycle that spanned backwards and forwards through time. That was not the only corrupted feminine group. The one that dear Aunt Gemma was a part of on Atlantis also went askew. Not all of them, just a few. But these ripples and waves that were created by the Knight's presence went one way and the other, and in all directions. You see, when you throw a rock in a pond, does it not ripple in all directions? This was something that some of those members were oblivious to because of the mission directive in which they were given. So, within those ripples and waves were the negative things that took place, such as the split between the masculine and feminine groups. In all aspects, not just those two groups of which I aforementioned. There was the Herculean 12 labors type and a bastardization of the sacred feminine. Now, this happened in multiple sessions at once. This is why this one cannot sense which is the origin point and which is the end point. Do not think of it in a linear. Even though the Knights came in a linear, backwards fashion, fractals and expressions of them went all throughout the multiverse, so there would be several origin points, several capture points, and several extraction points that would all fold into the proper Mandela effect, in which you have a solidified universe and the best parts of several others. And I do mean the best parts, because in other timelines where the Knights barreled in like a bull in a china shop, harvests began. This is also, believe it or not, what caused some of the very problems in that other timeline, which caused them to go back to begin with. Not all of them, just a couple things. The rest were legitimate grievances. Now in time, they thought they could undo fixed points in history. But what they did not realize was the stain that linked all of these events together. Egypt, Maldek, Mars, and various people within. And even near Atlantis. Not all of it, just some of it. These two, in fact, found themselves not only on opposing sides during that time, they also found themselves entangled in the opposite genders of that entanglement, or the stain, if you like. Not only did this one and many others in the Knights go back to correct these timelines, which in fact that was needed, by attuning the crystals that blocked negative entry through certain sacred chakra points, you would call them, through your earth. This is why energy collectors are always built on these sites. Some of these sites are fake chakra points, some are not. This is why churches and temples are built on these sites, because religion was created by, unfortunately, the victors of that war. But not. I will explain. When the knights went back, they attempted to save Deir Lemuria first, because it was more of a sanctuary. They attuned the crystals so that on these chakra points, either underwater or on land, the darkness could not infiltrate. And this was a good thing. It would have gotten a lot worse had they not. They went to Atlantis and did the same. But here is the catch. There is in your realm a past and a present and a future. So, therein lies a paradox, because we all know these things do not exist. Imagine this, if you will. A self, such as this one, going back in his giant form to stop Atlantis from being destroyed, but doing it in a bull in a china shop fashion, as you would say. This, in turn, caused the other versions of themselves and the other version of the knights which exist now. The ones that know that were not the first wave to come in to get beat up, so to speak. The ones that knew that a certain path had to be taken, even if it seemed negative at the time. To be able, over time, to be able to correct these infiltrations, these implants, these attachments, these horrific aberrations to nature. This leads me back to the biblical period, where the Essenes, led not just by this one, but the one you know of as Jesus the Christ, also known as Enlil, became part of this scenario. But this sounds contradictory, does it not? I will explain. As we said, there were fractals in time. As did the winged angels, the conquerors of your system, come in. So did the knights have to fractalize within it in order to bring about the change and the reacclimation of all of those shards and pieces now. Wrapped in green, they became part of that system. Wrapped in red, over here, on Atlantis, they became part of this system. Wrapped in black, over here, on Mars, they became part of this system. And wrapped in emptiness, over here, they became part of it in Egypt. The emptiness bond, some could call this, was a bond that when the knights went back to Egypt to try to change it, the ones that were there, the winged reptilians, the virally infected, the ones you now know as sand ghouls in the present, who are actually bilocations of decrepit winged ones under the earth. Their reaction was anything but jovial. They knew the knights could easily defeat them if they did not create a catch. And this catch was this. The entanglement ensued the moment the sword struck. Whether the reptilian died or not, the entanglement would keep both in a perpetual state of empty battle combat and perpetual rage. That is part of the fairy tale, folks. Some that you may have seen already in other videos, but this angle is the knot that was tied. This one spent 3 expressions trying to undo that knot. But one being the sword, other being the feminine, and the other being the seer. This knot is one that disentangles itself when the intention towards this knot is abated. Now, Atlantis was a little different. First was the giant that had to be subdued, even though it was the dark black army there that did this, the harvester contingent. The ones that came in as the second wave of the night also landed in the same spot, and this one re-entered that temporal continuum as the separate gender, or opposite gender, to go in under the guise so that the crystals could be reattuned, therefore lessening the damage of the fractaled Mandela effect of the period. Yes, you all know that the Montauk Project brought about a lot of these religious fractals, and this is still true. But the temporal war of attrition was much more than just one fractal, meaning your cabal. They contributed a great deal to that. Yes. Because humans are good co-creators, no matter which side they find themselves on. In this, many of you are probably asking, why am I here? Then if not to be the bull in the china shop, or not to be the seer, or warrior. This is what you decide. How best to implement your soul mission. But remember, the way of the sword has quickly gone by the wayside, and this is the age of magic. Meaning, mental constructs of the sword in order to defend. Even warriors that exist now need to be. What we mean by transmuting the warrior to the magician is this, and not the negative magician. Transmuting the bull in a giant china shop, the one that would be easily captured, plugging all holes immediately so these dark vents subsided, to one of transmuting the energy coming through those openings and holes to something that would turn the system against itself. This is why both of these aspects in history have been needed. The one with the sword and the one with the wand. There is a lot more to this story currently. But my time is limited, so I will take questions currently.
Thank you, Triumph, for coming in and speaking about this. There's actually so much to this. I'm actually having a hard time formulating appropriate questions, I think, but I will try. So what the story was complicated, and actually listening to you, in a sense, I have to be honest, it was hard to follow. But part of me followed, but part of me didn't follow. So I'm going to try to surmise some things that you're talking about. So in general, from what I heard you say, that the beings that came in, let's say, Chris, the White Knights, the one that came in, they were the one thing that I've been wondering and wanting to get to is that all of this was a part of a bigger plan. It wasn't just, I know you say 10 people coming in, but wasn't all of this really, after they sat and watched forever and ever, Michael and Odin and Thor and everybody constantly going in the circle and circling the toilet and restarting and circling the toilet, was there not a group that came up with a plan that included the White Knights, that included the first contingent going in, the second contingent going in? Wasn't there a group that actually had a clue that the way to come out of all of this was going to be to reattune into the heart space, into the higher frequencies to get out of it? It wasn't happenstance. Was it a plan by this group?
Yes, indeed. And this is the group in which you are speaking to right now. The council devised this plan in the times outside of time, so that all of these fractal timelines that exploded and were going to fall into nothingness, indeed, would be brought about to be reassembled into a single mirror or single plane. This may seem like it is harsh, but those who came in on a deep soul level, long before the second contingent wave came through, knew they were coming in to be that bull in a china shop first, and the reassembly crew came second. Many of you think that your lives that are going out of control, and that a lot of these things that are happening to you are by mere happenstance. No. It is because you are here to help correct things here on Earth, so that your time here is much easier. You see, there are many temporal changes going on around you that you do not see, minute ones, very small ones. And I will give an example to you. Though deja vu is part of alien abduction, it is also part of this folding of the timelines. Granted, beings such as your ghostly figures and other beings of any other planes and timelines are moving things around your rooms. But in fact, it is these changing of the timelines that are also doing the same. Maybe even in one timeline, something you are looking for doesn't exist at all. You see, these little minute things that will eventually become larger things, because some of these larger things are actually being hidden from your eyes, not only by us, but other various groups out there, using holography and the like, also hiding themselves from view, but also becoming very impatient that they have to do so. But I digress. Each and every one of you, whether you know it or not, whether you came from another continuum or not, whether you were stolen from that continuum or not by the darkness, came in with a means to be here and to correct things and bring your point of view to the table, to help people out of this dark snare, not to save them like the White Knight on the horse, but to bring about their own inner magic, their own inner wizard. Now, was there also a dark force from another universe that also orchestrated a plan? Oh yes, there was. This is why the darkness ripped across space-time. Was this a singular consciousness? Yes, it was. Would people call this more of a satanic figure? You could say that, even though Saturn took up that role quite well in your history. There is not only a galaxy cloaked to your eyes that brings in some of the agenda of this being, but this essence made up of many, very much like your balanced continuum here, made up of many, aided that darker version of yourselves in the fallen universe to rip across space and time. This is why this Archon enemy, this dark Anunnakian enemy, knows your mind so well because they are your dark mirror. They are you, but not you. I will explain. Do not think that these are your very souls, even if you see a duplicate of yourselves, with a much larger head, of course. And this can happen. People have seen this in dreams and in visions. It is actually that version of themselves that's trying to take over themselves here, out of fear for survival. You would call it the ego, but there is much more to this than that. Now, is it just you? Is it just that dark mirror? No. There are other species that got intertwined with these archontic invaders and this force. They are more or less agents to this force. There are much more than your fingers and toes have room to count on. This is why people see so many malevolent species, because that energy has overtaken them, bound them to what they think is a single mastery. No, it is over here. Even though there's a single face, there are many. And this is quickly being rectified by all of you. This is why your will to change things ultimately crashed and burned the three-house system. Because what I wish to clarify is this. There is no division from source. There never was. The scale in which you know the divisions of source as are incorrect and inaccurate. The scale of density in which you know it as is not exactly accurate either, but for the sake of argument, we will keep it as such until the day comes along in which you will understand this change in the density and energy fields. I believe that sufficiently answers the question.
Well, it does, but I do want to ask your opinion on then how to refer to yourself. I don't have a problem. I know we're all part of Source. I know we're all connected to Source. We're all from Source. We are Source. I get it. I get that. But I'm also think differently than Chris, think differently from you, have my own opinion. So I am curious about what is the best way, to address yourself as that individual component of Source that has a different viewpoint from the next individual component of Source. So that's just an individualization. That's meaningful. That's something. So how would be a good way to describe yourself in this?
Think of it this way. You are all individuals. But you are also all part of Source. Granted, this may seem like it's a division, but it is actually the energy that flows and binds through all things. In the past, people have seen this as above and below separations, scales of God and lower gods, or humans and God. I'm here to tell you the scales in which you judge things by simply do not exist. It is your perception that there are divisions that create them. Create this schizoid energy field, you would say. Now, as for us, you would judge us in a bandwidth that would be below what you consider Source to be and above where you consider yourselves to be. Yes, we are in a frequency that is a much more vibrant bandwidth, faster moving. Does this mean we are above you? No. Does this mean also that you would be able to be a part of our council at this moment? No, because your cellular vibratory frequency is not as such that you would not be damaged by ours. But seeing as all time is one and that there are no divisions except in perception, once that perception changes, the genes Your cells closely follow suit. Now, you're wondering how this is possible, and that if there are no divisions, how are there different frequencies? This takes a little bit to explain, but I will attempt to do so in your layman terms. We exist in a multi-dimensional nexus. People from all over the omniverse and multiverses conglomerate there from different frequencies, different than your own and the same as your own. Some have found a way to use technology to accommodate, while others have used their very own hearts and minds to do so, to change not only their genetics, but their frequency in which they walk through. Some people have considered this cheating. And I'm here to tell you there is also no such thing as that. Because when you find the way to that part of you, it does not matter as long as it is done with an open heart space and kept flowing through your open mind. And yes, both must be there. Though the heart space is larger, the mind also must be there, or you would not have both. In this, the apparent divisions of our group from source would seem like waves of water, the surface of waves of water rippling under a shining sun. This is how people have seen us. This is also how they've seen grandfather's son, and how they have seen the enemy mimicry. However, when you see that there is no such division between sky, water, and earth and air, you see it as all one big blue planet, then divisions and those perceptions have no meaning. Just like when you enter your fifth density, even though I just explained the number coding is slightly inaccurate, you'll notice it is the most populous of all your density frequency layers, most abundant, because of the fact that it feels the most balanced to the most species. Because of the fact that once you realize there's no such thing as good and evil, no such thing as higher or lower, no such thing as source and human as separate, then everything becomes abundantly clear, and you do not feel the need to move any higher, unless it is your mission to do so, or choice to do so. I believe this answers the question.
Yes, it certainly does answer the question. I do want to address what you're talking about now, because from my perspective, I was talking to some folks not too long ago about the fact that going into the next fifth density and going there with so many others, that it's just a more version of what we're experiencing now, but there's just more experiences. I think there's a misnomer from a lot of people that, and again, you use the word balance, but in my understanding of balance, it means you run the full spectrum of emotions. So it doesn't mean you're floating on a cloud playing harp. It means there's more experiences, meaning there's going to be a balance within all of the experiences, which almost, I hate to say it, actually means there's more drama. So it's like there's more drama. Drama could be adrenaline-filled moments. Drama could be calm moments. It all balances out in the wash, but there is more potential for excitement. And it's not all just what people think of as just being glorious excitement. It could be, excitement because you're nervous, you're anxious, you're trying to formulate a unity with a group you know nothing about, and it's challenging, and it's this, that, and the other. So I just wanted you to talk about that, because I think there's such a misnomer as to what people think they're going to experience.
You are correct. More of you will be opened up to you. What you are experiencing now is more muted emotions. The reason it has to go in such a scale is because you would not be able to handle all of you in one place at this moment. Are you present in the moment and bringing things through in the moment? Indeed. But when you cross into that 5D in which you are quickly crossing over into, you will see that people will not always follow you to this because they will perceive it as darkness. It is because more of these emotions will seem like chaos to them. Very much like in your New Age community, anchoring to one side of the spectrum or the other. You're either one or the other. And anything above that perception point seems chaotic, dark, and wrong. And I am here to tell you that going into 5D is not floating on a cloud with a harp. To some, that would be hell. To some, that would be calm. But you will feel more vibrantly the aspects of both hell and heaven in a single thought. This is why you must learn how to wield that part of yourself better. This is why there is a learning curriculum in place to begin with. Your people are unique throughout the stars. This is why your DNA is so coveted by both dark and light species, and in-betweens, and neutrals. Because they all wish to learn what it is to have that full spectrum. Even the ones you think would have that full spectrum do not. This is why they are members of your soul family, and you have a thread between you, transmitting knowledge back to them in the cosmos. When they do that, they will rise along with you. But you are asking, if they are part of my council and other places, why would they need to experience these things? It is because, everyone, it is backwards from what you understand. They started out over here. They did not start out there with you. So therefore, what seems backwards to you in ascending is anything but. I believe this answers the question.
Yes, thank you, and I'm really glad you were willing to weigh in on that. And I think there are going to be many people who aren't happy to hear that, honestly. But it feels like it's always felt like a truth to me. So I am curious, and because there's so many varying opinions, I know people again talk about an event, or they talk about I don't know, it reminds me of a flip of a light switch, bam and bam. And I keep thinking to myself, it's not that way. It's a progression. Although, I've even heard people from your end allude to, but there will be meaningful moments that will be like a light switch. So I am curious, and also about the window of progressing through to 5D, because to me it just seems like the energies are becoming more available. Maybe souls chose, whenever the audit was with Source, that they were going to move ahead into the new curriculum, but there seems to be, in my humble opinion, a very wide window in linear time of when that movement could occur, and again, not just all at one time. So I am curious about those logistics.
Uh-oh. You're going to have to give me a clue again. It suddenly cut. No, you.
Okay. So basically, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter by a lot of different people about the concept of an event. Although to me, it feels like not an event where something is there and then not there. It's just this rapid change, but a progression. There also seems to be some allusion to, though, there will be a couple of moments where there will be, bam, a light switch, but it's not the entire event. It's just a moment.
Had to get back into it. For some reason, it started to cut. I will be brief, but I can honestly say this. You are the events. You are this event in here. It is you waking up at your own times. Now, are there others that could possibly hold you back in this? Yes, these are toxic energies that you can, as you would say, ascend away from. Is there this big, monumentous earthly event? Yes, there are some things going on that have been not told to you in the correct fashion. Or is there a thought renaissance? Oh, you bet. More innovation, both scientific and spiritual? Yes, you bet. However, that is born from you and your own heart. All of you are in this mode of hurry up and wait. But what are you waiting for exactly? Do you even know? Do you even know what you are currently waiting for? Is it disclosure of what you consider aliens? Is it a light switch spiritual epiphany or scientific innovation? That light switch is up to you. All of you. It is not a forced light switch. Even though there have been occasions where this works and that method works, that is for overage alone. Not all events, not all hearts need to be turned on at the same time. Now, you may think this is a contradiction, but there is a segment of population holding you back, and there is a segment moving forward. This is not a contradiction at all. Just know that when you perceive all of these unawakened, supposedly, you are actually contributing to them being unawakened. You can break them of this by merely not declaring them unawakened. Yes, there are the stupid, there are the unawake, and there are the unenlightened. But in that statement I just said, think of this. When you feel that wholeheartedly, do you not keep them there and hold them back? Do you not keep them in that place of stagnation while you blame them for every one of your woes? And do they cause some of this? Yes, I am not disputing this. I know you have been oppressed. I understand. We were there at some point ourselves. But I digress. Think of it in a more layman's terms. You are aiming these thoughts towards these people. Are you not aiming this as co-creating it forever and ever? For all time? Thinking that it has no end and no beginning. Very much like your concept of God. Think of yourselves as vibrating away from that. Then those people cease to be holding you back because you have ceased to hold them back. Yes, they are irritating. We see this. We see this sporadic dumbing from the binary network. We see this sporadic dumbing from these archon forces. We understand it was from the outside, but as I have said, you would not understand yourselves unless you saw your dark mirror. Even in the overage, there can be lesson. Even in the overage, there can be abilities and characters built. Even in the overage, there can be a thought renaissance, a spark. People that step outside of that for and against and become something else other than he said, she said. Look at what's above in your poison skies. Look at those people not getting off of their cell phones. Look at those people driving with their texting. Look at those people that have been hurt by this. Look at the people not paying attention to the correct thing. Look at the people that are paying attention to the correct thing, which in fact is a contradiction. All of it is a contradiction. I believe that answers your question.
Yes, and I do have one more. I don't know really. I am curious. what you will contribute to this question, because one of the things that we've been really looking at, and you had brought it up, you brought it up yourself earlier, regarding kind of if you follow the totem pole of the overage going up and everything, you do come to a singular, being who, in a sense, is of light. I mean, it had to. Everything started out of benevolence, so that's kind of. I call it the puppeteer of all of it. That there really is a group or a being or whatever, even above what we thought of as just the dark Anunnaki, the ones that rip through space-time. There was something that had to start that ball of wax even before them to put the idea there for that to happen. So it goes all the way up. So what's been rummaging through my mind, and I spoke about it to a couple people, and I am curious. Since you're going into, the 5D where there's just an expanse of experience, the goal is to be more balanced. In a sense, that doesn't mean that challenging or things that people here now would label negative. I don't know if the labeling changes there to challenging rather than negative, but that there has to still be some participation of something organized to create those challenges. So, when we were talking about it, part of me is like, definitely part of the overage is no longer needed in the new expression of learning. And, a lot of times we like to say, just get rid of it. Like our co-creative force, it's just not needed, get rid of it. But then part of me was thinking, well, I don't actually know that answer. And maybe there has to be more of a dissolvement over a period, and then maybe that's what happens in this new time frame, or as people are in there, it's a slow dissolvement of it. I don't actually know, but I would like your comment, because there still has to be some, like we always joke, a lobster doesn't grow unless it's under pressure. So it has to be some sort of pressure that we now call it dark. Maybe not as bad. There's something over there.
You are indeed correct. Yes, there will still be challenges, everyone. When you go into these next bandwidths, just know you won't even know anything has happened at all. You will just have a greater understanding and more of appreciation for the world around you. You will be more, you would say, enlightened. But it does not mean that you will not experience challenges. Again, not the cloud, but the harp. This is what people misunderstand about the path into 5D. Now, are there forces that have played the roles of dark and light? And are they all part of that aforementioned darkness from that overage universe, some have called it? Most certainly. The winged ones of your holy church, your devils of the underground, or perceived underground. Now, are there various other groups that have joined these, thinking that they were righteous at the time? Most certainly. You have the winged ones and the fake air steeples, and you have these strange underground castles, as this one saw, with the glowing red crosses and the blackened corridors, and the single being chasing through the corridors. Yes, these are all the same force, everyone. This is all the same force, the ones that would lay down edicts for you, commandments for you to follow. Unattainable goals. Quests. Negative quests, that is. Not quests of the heart, but glory. This is what that scale has done, the one that you go and have seen from hell to heaven. This is not so. Some of these groups may even be seen within these two variables. Pick not either of these, because by picking not either of these, and you step outside of that for and against, and you step outside of these holy groups, you would say, you will become that new perception that is needed to gain wisdom from the awaited challenges still within 5D. This, I believe, answers the question.
Yes, thank you. And I could speak to you for a very long time. I think this current discussion that we've had here is going to leave a lot of people wanting to listen to it again to understand fully what's been said. So I think it's best to not ask any more questions right now, but to allow you to give any any words of wisdom or anything you want people to think about right now.
Yes. In the days ahead, though it is not always prudent to ask to see the future or any future, just know that you will have challenges that you yourselves came in to experience. Just know that in these challenges, there is wisdom. In your current year of 2018, you have probably noticed, all of you, that these energies, or what you perceive as the energies stagnating, no, that is a perception. This just means that while you think you're hurry up and waiting, you are not. You are actually what you would say recombobulating for the current energy streams. This does not mean what you are working on and what you are doing now currently with your life is gone. No. It is stronger than it ever has been at any point in your evolution. You are stronger than you ever have been at any point in your evolution. But just know, since you exist in the linear fashion of time or in your perception, you are seeing certain pitfalls as now and certain triumphs as later. Know that you are already within your triumph period. And you will carry this energy not only from what you perceive to be the future to now, grabbing something ahead and bring it to the now, but taking these lessons learned right at this moment into your next year of 19. This is the beginnings of what you know of as the thought renaissance. Your event that you have been perceiving is you. Remember this in the times ahead when you are expecting saviors to drop from the sky. Just know you already did drop from the sky. This is why your planet is still here at all. Thank you. Ugh. Oh. No wonder there were so many distractions for that. Alright. He knew what subject he was going to get into. And I could feel wave after scalar wave hitting me. That's why I had to have you re-ask that question, because it was something they did not want asked. The darkness actually created what people know as that perception to ensnare people. But at the same time, people came in to learn it anyway. It's that catch. People see it as a snare, which it was and is. Like when the groups like the White Knights or the Essenes or any of them came in to follow what became a corrupted path, but even now they're taking the thoughts from my head, going back to that. They came in to eventually unentangle from that mess in this optimum timeline. And I know this has been spoken about, but not quite possibly in this depth. So before we get any more interruptions, I believe we can end this show for this time. Thank you for watching an episode of the Lifting's Guide to Galactic History. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.